AITA for banishing my teenage daughter's friend from our house because she made fun of my weight. I, 37F, have 2 kids with my husband, 41 meters, a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Our daughter has always been a little socially awkward to the point that we've had her tested since. We suspected her of being on the spectrum. Turns out she isn't on the spectrum. She's just a natural introvert. However, this year in school we were thrilled when our daughter made a new friend her age, since that is an area in which she struggles. Long story short, she recently invited her new friend over, with our approval, to have dinner at our house and then spend the night. So, my daughter's friend came over. My husband is usually the cook in the family, and this night was no exception. He made us all a really nice meal. During the course of said meal, I asked my daughter's friend, "Are you enjoying the food?" She responded, "Yes. Your husband is a great cook. No wonder you've ended up a bigger woman." The room got quiet for several moments. My husband tried to laugh it off and change the subject, but I wasn't having it. The girl had just leveled a completely uncalled for insult at me. My daughter's friend seemed to realize that she'd messed up, but she didn't say anything else. We finished an awkward dinner in mostly silence, and my daughter's friend did stay the night. This was a couple of months ago. Recently my daughter asked if she could have her friend back over, and I told her, sure, if she's going to apologize to me. When our daughter asked what I meant, I reminded her of what she'd said. My daughter responded that it was over and she didn't want to bring it up again. She then went to her father and asked. He said, sure, but she then told him what I'd said. He came to me and said, quote, daughter's friend just felt awkward and tried to make a joke. It didn't land. For the sake of our daughter, can't you just let it go? Quote, yes, I could. But the thing is that I just want an apology from the girl. I need to see that she understands how rude she was before I can get on board with her and MYY. Daughter hanging out. My husband says that I am being weird for insisting on an apology from a 14-year-old. Especially since that girl is such a good friend of our daughter. I think it's weird that I'm still waiting for an apology from that same girl. Seriously. That's all I need. I just need to know that any friend of my daughter is willing to own up to her screw-ups. As a bigger woman myself. YTA. Kids say dumb things. Once a kid came up to me in the mall and said, "Ew, you're fat." I responded, "Ew, you have brown hair." Quote, she ran off crying to her mother. YTA. If 14 is old enough to apologize, 37 is old enough to communicate that at the time. You've taken an awkward moment that this girl probably wishes she could forget and made it into some huge issue. Have some grace. Let it go. Let her think it's forgotten. And let your daughter have a friend. FFS. YTA. Stop it. You're the adult here. Don't pick a fight with a 14-year-old child. It's clear this kid didn't mean to upset you. Do you really want to sabotage your own child's friendships because of your ego? You don't need an apology. You need to act like an adult and shake it off. Edited to add. I also think it's pretty disgusting that you're putting your daughter in the middle of this. Because you didn't properly address the perceived slight at the time. You now expect your daughter to tell her friend she has to apologize to you while you sit on your throne and wait. YTA. You should have asked for an apology at the table. What she said was very rude. And I think she knew it as soon as it came out of her mouth. But she didn't know what to do to make it right. If you'd said, "That was very rude, and I'd like an apology," she would have said, "I'm sorry," right there. And while awkward, it would have been over. You missed your teaching moment. Holding a grudge for months against a 14-year-old is silly. And you're punishing your daughter unfairly. Let the kid have a friend. YTA. Teenagers say dumb things, and the time to correct it was in the moment. Let the faux pas slide. But if it happens again, explain why it isn't okay to joke like that with you. This is your daughter's friendship. Keep the peace. YTA. Move on. You are an adult. It wasn't even a hateful, derogatory statement. If anything, women of all body types are being celebrated in the media lately, and at her impressionable age it might have been a well-meant, positive comment. Let your insecurities go. She's a teenager, not some coworker, and possibly one of your daughter's only friends. YTA. You said your daughter is socially awkward to the point of having her tested. Birds of a feather flock together. This girl absolutely did not mean to insult you. You, as the adult, should have and could have used the opportunity to talk about appropriate comments and kindness, but instead chose to ignore it. I think inviting her into your home is appropriate, especially if this is your daughter's only friend. If you feel so inclined, let her know how the comment upset you, and moving forward you'd appreciate if any jokes were made not involving anyone's weight in the house. A healthy boundary to set. YTA. Did it ever occur to you that the reason this girl and your daughter clicked as friends is that they're both socially awkward? She's a 14-year-old kid. Even with the best social skills, they often put their foot in their mouths. Let it go. Don't ruin your daughter's friendship because your ego was hurt by one offhand comment. Are you really going to prevent your daughter from having this one single friend because she called you fat? Is this the hill you want to die on? I'm also really introverted and can confidently tell you that this will prevent your daughter from having the courage to make other friends, because this is how you react to kids trying to make a joke. Their brains are still developing, and sometimes they can't control what just comes out of their mouths. Yes. YTA. And I think I know at least part of the reason your daughter is an introvert. This is a total overreaction on your part. You have held on to this one comment for months? It isn't even for sure an insult. Do you really think she was consciously thinking about how she could upset you and decided she would do so by saying you are bigger? She pointed out something everyone can see: you're bigger. And you took it in the harshest possible way. You used the word banish. Like a dark ages leave the village, fend for yourself in the wild punishment. You didn't just decline. You want her banished. I think you might be dumping years of frustration about being a bigger woman on a 14-year-old girl who, if she is friends with your daughter, might be a bit of an introvert and a little awkward herself, and probably doesn't have polished social skills you require. I bet you never had those perfect skills at her age either. And I have no idea what you get out of it. This isn't the 1700s. Your honor has not been besmirched. Let it go. You say you're happy your daughter has a friend. I don't buy it. And I have news for you. Number 14-year-old your daughter included owns up to all their screw-ups. In fact, you don't own up to all of your screw-ups. How do I know? You're not doing it now. Drop it and apologize before you lose your daughter. Of course, YTA, she didn't even call you fat. She called you a larger woman. You feel fat, that's why you felt offended. You seem to be very insecure about your weight, but clearly not as much to do something about it. She's 14. Kids at that age are not always politically correct and say things as they see them. She called you a bigger woman and complimented your husband's food. If this is a fact, I can't see how she was being insulting. You're just being oversensitive. I'm an obese guy. If someone points that out to me with no malicious intentions, how on earth am I going to demand an apology for stating a fact? Your husband is right. Get over your bruised ego for your daughter's sake. Is it an insult to say someone is tall, short, curly-haired, or brownie-eyed? She didn't make fun of you. Why should you get an apology? Info. Are you a bigger woman? YTA is a big person. You need to just get over it. You don't ruin your socially awkward daughter's friendship because your feelings were hurt. The kid is also probably socially awkward and was trying to compliment the husband and just botched the whole thing. You have a husband, a family. You're loved. Why are you insecure about what some 14-year-old girl said about your weight? She's just awkward too. It's probably why your daughter gets along with her. Also, this was months ago. Do you want to talk about awkward? Do not bring this up. If you wanted an apology, that moment was the moment to ask for one, or that night. But months later is not the time. You need to let it go. YTA. And grow up. A therapist is also likely in order because I have a feeling your issues run deep. All you had to do in that moment at the dinner table is check your pathetic ego and calmly respond to her that her joke was a little hurtful, and in the future, it would be a good idea to not comment on the appearance of another. But here you are, acting like a tween and throwing a tantrum. Months later, you are, most definitely, a very big ass. YTA. That seems really thin-skinned and narrow-minded from an adult that got probably more due to awkwardness rather than intention, insulted by a 14-year-old. You felt insulted, but you were also not willing to go to the one that insulted you and tell them, but put pressure on your daughter. YTA. It is weird to demand an apology from a 14-year-old child over a joke, albeit a joke that lacked taste. She's a kid. You're an almost 40-year-old adult. It's very strange that you're not able to move past a child's bad taste humor months after the fact. For the sake of your daughter's much-needed social circle, I think you need to leave the issue alone. I think it was a genuine error of someone unfamiliar with you trying to compliment your husband and accidentally offending you. She's 14, which I remember as a socially awkward and embarrassing time. You're allowed to be a bit hurt, but as long as it doesn't happen again, you should put it down to a one-time slip-up. YTA. She didn't even make fun of you. She put her foot in her mouth. That's all. Your daughter finally made a friend, and you're going to tank it because friend hurt your little feelings with a left-handed compliment. Your socially awkward daughter comes by it honestly and is showing more poise and grace than you are. YTA. So to be clear on this, a 14-year-old made an ill-placed comment which you could tell they immediately realized was wrong, and you've held on to a grudge for months because of it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.